This is a big part of this tournament here, folks, is will Briar be the deck to finally hit Living Legend? Because of the time left in the round, we do not have the capability to go back to the beginning of this game, so we have the Azuri Switchblade here, Guy Cohen, 3-0 Azuri headed into round 4 at 8 life, facing down a Nimblism into an Arcanic Crackle, so this is going to be coming in for 6. Bloodrot Pox, it looks like, is represented on Bryan's side here for the Briar player here. Goes down to 3 as a result of the Bloodrot Pox at the end of the turn, buys a couple blocks, and now at the start of Guy's turn, again, we're coming into this game live in progress. Embodiment of Earth going to go ahead and be represented as Bryan is going to go ahead and draw back up deck to Guy's turn. Energy counter on Findal Spring Tune. This is just going to be E-Strike, most likely for 7. Man, what a game this has been, huh? My goodness.
Absolutely. From the beginning, absolute nail-biter.
Yeah.
So when we tune into a match like this and where the opponent against Briar is at a low life total, the first thing you want to look at is how much Arcane Barrier they're presenting. Now, it's a little difficult to see the headpiece, but I think that's a face-down headpiece is what I'm guessing. So it looks like Azuri probably showing up with no Arcane Barrier at all, and Briar on the other side with Grasp represented, and we saw an Arcanic Crackle on the combat chain in the previous turn. Looks like Briar has a lot of ways to deal that final few points of Arcane damage against Azuri. And if you think about it, stuff like Arcanic Crackle, stuff like keeping a blue to make a Rune Chant and Rosetta, this Azuri is actually, in some ways, on a 7-turn clock.
Yeah.
Because you can guarantee with just one card an Arcane damage every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Guy Cohen also rocking the Taiwanese Fate Foreseen promo, showing us all at home why Nationals players are just a little bit cooler than us mortals.
Us plebs.
Yeah, us mortals back at home. And just as if he could hear me, going to go ahead and show you all at home exactly what I'm talking about. Then going to be a defense reaction 4-4, opting the 1, leaving it on top is Guy Cohen. But now with 3 cards in hand and an arsenal, we're going to start off with a Spider's Bite. Going to go ahead and pitch, looks like a blue backstab. This Spider's Bite coming in not only for 1, but threatening that -1 defense for attack action cards for the rest of the turn.
The other thing about the cards like Arcanic Crackle is that it's very easy access to embodiments, because remember, the arcane damage is tied to the attack action.
Absolutely.
So Bryan out here got the embodiment from the Arcanic Crackle, and now I believe he drew into a Sift and a Force of Nature, both non-attacks, a block for 4. So, he's kind of laughing at the Spiders by saying, you want to deduct my attacks? I don't care. I want to block my non-attacks anyway. Yeah. So you're going to send that Orbiter class that you have over there to actually deduct my non-attacks. Now, let's see whether he actually respects this one.
Yeah.
Because he is at 2, so he does need to, respect.
He's also just at 2.
He doesn't need to respect the daggers just, for the damage value. But out here, he's blocking with one of his 2-block non-attacks, being bumped up to 3.
Yep.
And holding on to his 2 3-block non-attacks.
Yeah, and now that Spider's Bite effect now still online. We're going to go ahead and flick the Spider's Bite, so that's another point of damage. So talk about a clock. There is a 1-turn clock now for the Briar player here, because next turn, any attack can be flicked with the final Orbido class damage. So Bryan here now realizing, I have to completely finish the game on my next turn, or I simply die to Flick Knives, and I also have to deal with this Surgical Extraction. Luckily, as you said, the embodiment powering up that Sift, going to block for the entire 4. But now, Bryan, can you find enough damage to get through the 7 points that Guy has, along with all the block? We're going to start off, if we're going to do it, it'll probably be off the back of a Toma Harvest card. Go into the arsenal here. We're going to draw 3 fresh cards. What can Bryan string together, trying to keep the hope of Briar Living Legending alive? Because that Flick Knives has got his name written all over it.
Definitely. And critically, Tome of Harvest is a very card-neutral way to trigger the first half of Briar's ability. Bryan needs to play 2 non-attacks to get the Embodiment of Lightning. Tome of Harvest is essentially a free in terms of card economy-wise. You pay 2 cards, but you get 3 back to say, all right, I've satisfied the first half of Briar's ability, now playing Nimblism, I get my Embodiment. This Gloom coming in for 6. Getting go again from 2 sources here, from the Embodiment of Lightning itself, and also the fact that you've created an aura.
Uber go again.
Yeah.
It's Uber go again.
Double go again out here. Coming in for 6, but like you said, Uzuri just needs to keep 1 card. Just send a dagger and then flick it.
Now, critically, what is this last card? Because we have 2 and 2 that could be represented from the Rosetta Thorn. 2 points of arcane damage that is unpreventable for Guy here, unless there's a prevention effect in hand, like something like like the Oasis Respite we saw last game. We're going to buy a bunch of 2 blocks there, and 2 Nimblisms and the Death Touch. So we're covering up the Gloom Veil entirely. Looks like this is just going to be a 2 and 2. If that's a red, we can't create the arcane damage from the Grasp of the Arcanite. So 2 damage going to come across. This does not threaten lethal. If we have a way to send an attack on our turn, then the Flick Knives is just going to close this game out, folks. Let's see, though. It depends on what that Arsenal card is, because it looks like he might be lining up a block on the physical half of the Rosetta Thorn.
So Zuri really just needs a 0 cost or even a 1 cost, because they do have Tunic up.
Absolutely.
So 1 cost in the Arsenal, we see a Death Touch being blocked on the chain here. It could be a Death Touch in Arsenal. It could even be a Codex. You get back a Death Touch. You send a 1 cost and you just flick a knife.
Yep.
Critically, you can't attack with a knife and flick it, because Flick Knives does specify that Dagger is not on the combat chain.
Yep.
So they do need
not
to
on the active chain link or on the combat chain at all?
On the active chain link. Yes. So you can't attack with a dagger and then flick that. So they do need to send an action card, but with 2 cards in hand, looks like Azuri is going to be able to close that. Oh, they're attacking with... But you can...
Yeah, because that's why I wanted to clarify, because if there is an attack in the arsenal there, first we can throw the Orbitoclast. That's just 1 damage you have to represent. We do have, looks like, a couple blocks left over on the equipment. But then now if there's anything in the arsenal that can be attacked with, let's see, the answer is... potentially, yes, it's a 1.
It's a Death Touch.
It's a Death Touch. That's coming for 6, but we know what's coming after this, folks.
Absolutely, and it is in the attack reaction that you go ahead and Flick Knives, and looks like he's going to do it. And Bryan, with no Crown of Seeds, no Arsenal to even activate that, is unable to deal with his 1 unpreventable damage. We talk about arcane damage being unpreventable. This is even more unpreventable. There are very few effects in the game that can stop a Flick Knives damage.
And in terms of just flavor wins, in terms of just like